man, sorely hurt by my brothers. I went to the well as directed and shouted down, "Solitude!" That's what I got. What a relief. You have no idea how I needed that rest. After a few years, however, I began to long for community. I thought of the example and teachings of Christ. Was it right to be alone so much? So I went to the well. "Community!" I shouted. I got it. Beautiful for a while. Well, there were ups and downs. At one point, it got so distressing that I went to the well and shouted, "Death!" I died. Peace at last. My troubles were over. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't long, though, before I got to thinking, well, life. At least you're alive. It isn't all that bad. It's up to you. It's what you make of it, and you can help people here. What can I do? I began to wish I could go to the well and get my life back. But I couldn't get there. And if I could have, I have no breath to shout. I was just dead. Couldn't someone else go and shout for me? It didn't seem to occur to them. They saw me lying there, but no one thought to bring me back to life. They were so thoughtless, why were they so thoughtless and selfish? At last someone did think of it. He went to the well and called down, "Life for my brother." I rose from the dead. Oh, to be alive again, to breathe, to see, to walk, to hear, to relate to people. But where was that man who raised me up? I asked everyone I met, "Have you seen the man who raised me from the dead?" They thought I was crazy. No one comes back from the grave. Called down the well for you? You call down the well for yourself, not for someone else. I searched everywhere. And I passed many a grave before it finally occurred to me that someone else might be longing to return to life. I ran to the well. Life for my brothers and sisters. Then I saw in the water way down there the face of the one who raised me from the dead. So, let us, dear friends, raise ourselves from the dead this morning. We can be unconscious and go through life as robots. We can be productive. We can fulfill our responsibilities. But what about waking up? What about really seeing this dream that we're in for what it is? And freeing ourselves to be as loving as we're possible, as we're capable of. Time. So let's stop. Let's pay attention. Let's turn on. Much is made in some circles of the third eye. The third eye is simply being awake. It's the inward eye. It's the capacity to pay attention to the five aggregates: body, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. It's the awareness that notices when the mind is wandering. So let's stop right here. And let's give up the prison. The prison of thinking that someday down the road, when I do the right retreat, when I've practiced long enough, when I've made enough amends, when I've somehow or another gotten free of the neurotic mind, then I'll get enlightened. Why not be awake right now? Why wait? Come home to this breath. to this sitting here. Noticing that each breath actually has a beginning. We may have paid attention to 10,000 or a million breaths in our meditation career. But this moment right now is where aliveness is. And there's something so deeply satisfying, contentment making, to fully embrace this breath right now. There's an expansion, expanding to fullness, and then it declines, and then it disappears. Exactly identical to the seasons, to the coming and going of daylight. The same is true of thoughts. Don't have a battle with thoughts. It's not worth it. It doesn't work. Pleasant thoughts, unpleasant thoughts. Thoughts of the future, thoughts of the past. Perhaps it's possible to allow awareness to inhabit the entirety of the body right now. Notice the life in what you think of as your fingers and hands. Notice the life in your back, in your left leg and foot, the right leg and foot. And all the life of the pelvis, the organs nestled down in the pelvis, the whole of the digestive system. The greatness of the chest as it breathes in and out. The shoulders and the neck and the face and the head. The arms and hands. And so we can simply abide in the cloud of life, which is the body, as it breathes. Sometimes you may fall into trances, the trance of the future or the trance of the past. The entirety of our psychological structure, our personality, will at some point or another dance for us. Allow us to see how we're conditioned. And our intention is to stay awake, to stay mindful. We do this with love and compassion. Many of the sensations in the body are rather neutral. Some of them are unpleasant. Some of them are pleasant. Accepting them as they are not chasing after the pleasant, not attacking the unpleasant. Not ignoring the neutral or the neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Awake to it all. When discomfort arises, we notice it for what it is, discomfort, unpleasant. There might be some disliking of it. We might then return to breathing. Or we might simply abide in awareness and see what else is happening. But if some discomfort persists, if it keeps drawing awareness to it, then why not fully engage with the discomfort or pain? Know it for what it is. not through some veil of ideas, concepts, but the actual sensations themselves. When there's pain, is there someone in pain, or is there just pain, perhaps? If there's disliking, is there someone who is disliking, or is there perhaps simply disliking? A natural response. Each breath, each sound, each thought are invitations. Be awake. Attentive to the fact of breathing, thinking, it's very helpful to become aware of mood. All day long, moods come and go, dependent on all kinds of things: blood sugar, a song that we hear, an interaction with another person, a memory, Some moods like depression, anxiety, can color everything. And we can be very clear that that which is aware of mood is not the mood. Mood is part of our costuming, part of our somebody suit. Bringing kindness and a gentle touch to your meditation. There may well be long wandering minds. One association leads to another, leads to an emotion, and nobody home watching the show. And then, most mysteriously, mindfulness will emerge. There will be wakefulness again. There will be knowing, wow, that was a long wandering mind. Or, oh, look at that, it's a familiar old topic. Or, wow, that was a self-hating wandering mind, or a lusting or a fearing wandering mind. The Buddha said that the taste of this practice at the beginning is the taste of freedom. The taste in the middle is the taste of freedom. The taste at the end is the taste of freedom. resting in the coming and going of the breath in the entirety of the body. In the ease that comes of resting in the present moment. As we rest in the present moment, we can notice the sense of I am, I, me, mine, as it arises and dissolves, arises and dissolves. Occasionally we get a glimpse of the space in which everything occurs. And this space is so vast that it includes everyone else. Everything else. And when we do loving kindness meditation, may I be happy, may all beings be happy. It starts with there being beings out there. A friend, a lover, a parent, a child, a pet. And it's as though we are wishing well for ourselves and then another, or all beings of some class. All the babies born today, all the people dying today. And then sometimes it becomes obvious that there's just this abiding in presence and beauty, and it doesn't require any words. All beings long to feel safe and happy and content and have enough to eat. And so our practice is already dedicated to all beings. Anything that happens within us happens with all beings. And please now bringing awareness, what an odd term, allowing the mystery of awareness to inhabit your body where it touches the chair. Notice the aliveness that you would call your hands and fingers. Notice the aliveness in the face, in the lips, in the nose, in the eyes. And then when you're ready, noticing first the intention and then allowing the eyes to open. See with the eyes of blessing. Just touching. I have a couple of announcements this morning. This is a picture of the lodge at Brighton Bush Hot Springs 2 or 3 years ago at January. Had a wonderful snowstorm. On the 6th, 7th, and 8th of May, coming up soon, there's going to be a fundraiser for Brighton Bush. The idea came to me some months ago when I mentioned it to Peter Moore, the CEO, and it's grown into quite an event. There will be yoga and several workshops through Friday night. I'm starting on Friday night. And it turns out that I'm going they said they need an MC. I think of it, I'm going to be the officiant. And it's a fundraiser, so you can attend for no charge at all. But if you have the funds, one of the things that I was looking for just a moment ago, my write-up for my little thing. Oh, here it is. There's a little bit about me, and then Brighton Bush is a planetary treasure. It's a place where people reconnect to wholeness within themselves, between each other, and with the natural world. It's a seedbed of consciousness evolution, awakening and remembering interbeing. Challenged first by COVID-19 and then by a devastating fire, Brighton Bush is rising from the ashes to once again welcome us to come and drink deeply of love, compassion, and the natural world. All the guest cabins were burned, as well as the sanctuary and the massage house. The kitchen survived, and the great hall, the big building survived, and the yurt, the river yurt. They survived because of the heroism of a handful of people. So I invite you to, I'm going to be sending out a mailing today about that, so I invite you to participate if you wish. Other than that, my class begins tomorrow night. 8 sessions on, Buddha's getting restless. You wait a minute or two. That may not work. When awareness becomes natural, as we assume our position of presence in everything that we do. So it's mindfulness in daily life. Doug Pullen's class on opening the heart starts a week from Thursday night. Gary Sanders is teaching a day-long 9 to 2 retreat on the first Saturday of May. And I think that's all I need to say. So,
Robert, I put the Brighton Bush link on the chat, and
good.
The dates are May 7th through the 9th.
I knew that. All right. They keep changing those numbers around. It's amazing. Yeah. Sarah Joy Marsh is doing yoga and the meditation, and take a look at it. It's going to be an interesting weekend. Jim, that link, I got to let the dog out. That link doesn't work. Well, there will be a link coming out in my email momentarily today. All right. Oh, actually, BrightonBush.com works too. I was there at Brighton Bush before it ever opened with Ruth Dennison. One of her students, a couple of her students were central in the formation of Brighton Bush. What was his name? Oh dear. He inherited $750,000 when his father died from a life insurance policy, and he bought Brighton Bush. And he was a student of Ruth, and then the community bought it from him, and so it became a worker cooperative. And tens of thousands, I don't know, maybe more than enough people have gone there in our time. And of course, the indigenous people were going there 10,000 years ago to use those hot springs.
I think it was Alex.
It was Alex, thank you. Alex Beamer. Good job, Tim. Yeah. And then I went there to at least, 15 years of Ruth Dennison retreats, once a year at least. And then also Ram Dass and Stephen Levine. And I did the first intermediate Hakomi training ever at Brighton Bush. And then I've been teaching there for at least 25 or 30 years. Until the fire, I was going 3 times a year. So that's a big loss. But it's going to come back, rising from the ashes. So what's happening for you? Anybody?
Hi, Robert. This is Steffi. Good morning.
Hello, Steffi. Hi.
Hi. So I wanted to ask about, I find myself kind of getting into the delusion that my past wasn't good enough. You know, if people get together and talk about a past activity and I didn't do it, or could have participated and didn't, or was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, and I spend a lot of time, just under the delusion that I haven't done things right in the past. And so I would love to know what your thought on that is. And then a secondary question is, for this upcoming fundraiser for Brighton Bush, if we're not going to be around that weekend to participate on Zoom, if we join, is it possible we can access the videos later?
You betcha. It's going to be recorded. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be available for free on the Brighton Bush website. I'll put a link to it on my website too. So the past, huh? It's too bad, my dear. You missed the boat, and there's no possible way you'll ever catch up. It's so just give up now, all right?
Thank you. That's exactly the wisdom I wanted this morning.
Well, there's another response too, which is perhaps I knew you'd be able to get the humor of that. It's really over. The past, and what is the past? It's a fantasy. It's an idea. And what do we really have? We have now. And we can preoccupy now with regrets about the past or remorse about the past, or we can be I'm thinking of I've had a lot of birthdays in my life, and I've received a lot of birthday cards, but there's one card that my then wife, my first wife and the mother of my kids, gave me on my 40th birthday that really etched itself into my consciousness. On the front page is warning, this is a dangerous birthday card. This is a dangerous birthday. And then you open it up and it said, you're turning 40. The warranty on your childhood neurosis is over. You can't blame your parents anymore. And I'd been deeply involved in therapy and angry at my parents, and there was good reason. There were traumatic things, alcoholism and neglect and all kinds of things that happened in my childhood that it made sense there was anger about. God, I sound Canadian this morning. And at some point, it really made sense to realize, oh, right, that may all have happened, and there were natural feelings about it, but it really is over. And so now the task is, whenever the mind is going back into that past, let it go. I don't mean let it go and be there, but recognize what it is, which is, you called it, you see it already. You called it a delusion, I think, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So I learned that from you.
You already see it for what it is. And so it's just a matter of continuing to practice and not investing much life energy in the past. Is that making sense?
Yes, thank you. That is helpful.
And there's also that comparing. There's a few lines in the Dhammapada that a person whose mind is comparing, you'll always find people who are, quote, better than you and worse than you, who had a worse life or a better life. And so what? What do we have is right now. What we have is right now. I used to really I was so melancholic. I lived, Christmas would come along and I'd always, of course, I'd have a glass or two of wine, and then I'd sit there after everyone went to bed, and I would I would feel sad about the Christmases past that were gone, and then I don't know. Gradually, I woke up and realized, wait a minute, the past really is over. I mean, it's such it's such a prolific habit that we have, the past. And also we can hold righteous indignation and even my people were harmed X thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago, and therefore I hate you because you're part of this ethnic group or that. It's really strange. Or you did this in the past, and therefore I'm never going to love you. Or I did this in the past, and therefore I have to feel bad about myself forever because I was not, I didn't follow the precepts really fully, skillfully. But it's over. What am I doing today? Does that any help?
Very much so. Thank you very much.
Great. Now. It's only for now.
Good morning, Robert and Sangha.
Hello, Sandra.
So to continue on that idea of, so how about the future? So I'm quite preoccupied right now with the future of my father, who has cognitive decline.
Uh-huh.
So, worrying about, what should be done or what should he choose or, and it's complicated with my brother. And so it occurs to me when you're speaking to let go of the future. What does he need now, or what does he choose now, and not worry so much about, everything, the puzzle of everything in the future.
Well, I think the teachings don't say don't plan for the future. Don't put any food aside for the cold season or whatever. But to do that planfully and sensibly, and to use the mind to plan carefully, is very different from worrying about it and thinking about it endlessly and all that. There's that kind of obsessive thinking about the future that has to do with thinking we can control it. And the best we can do is, we lay our we do our best to figure out what's going to happen, to plan, and then we make our bet, and then live here now.
Well, this is the conflict for me. Is I'm a planner. I like to just plan things out, and then I don't have to think about it. But Dad's position is he just wants to take his chances.
Yeah.
It's no plan.
Uh-huh. My mother said to me, when she was dying a long time ago now, she was in a nursing home, and she was having, my middle sister, Barbara, bless her heart, she lived in Vancouver, where my mother was then, and she took on being the responsible child. And she visited my mother endlessly, and she was really heroic. To a fault, actually. And they got into terrible conflict. And one of the things my mother said to me at one point was, middle-aged children forget that their parents have made decisions all their life and want to continue making them, and are capable of continuing to make them. And my mother was making some really bizarre. She had strokes happening, little mini strokes, but it really struck me as oh yeah, right. She wasn't damaged enough to be declared incompetent, and therefore all her choices be made for her by my sister or us. But she was really out of control. She was out of my sister's control. And it drove my sister crazy. Well, it drove me crazy sometimes too. So, let go, let go, let go. When my mother was near the end, she was in the Purdy Pavilion at UBC. it was at the time when there were very large hearings happening in Parliament in Ottawa about the Indigenous people and the First Nations people and getting their land back. And so there were these big meetings that were televised, and my mother had a TV, and I got there one time, and she was incensed. She said, "I'm paying extra for a private room, and they're having all these meetings in my room." Oh dear. And she was still making decisions for herself, even despite that level of reality testing.
Okay, well, I'll keep working with it.
Yeah, it's such a, well, it's like parenting. These little kids come into the world and we have so much control over them. And then the whole thing is letting go. And then they get to be teenagers and you have zero control over them. And maybe you've developed enough of a relationship that they'll be somewhat responsible and respectful. But they really are totally out of control. And then they go off into their lives and marry people and do strange things that are or like in my case, my poor mother, I hitchhiked all over the planet. I signed on to a ship in Montreal and went to Australia, and I waved goodbye to my family from the ship, and I never saw my dog again. What was that like? I disappeared. I landed in Jakarta on my way to Australia from Japan, and I'd met a man on the plane who lived in Surabaya, which is in eastern Java, and he said, You're going to be in Indonesia and you're not going to Bali. This was before there were plane flights into Bali. Kuta Beach, which is now a city, was fishing villages. Anyway, I went there and I met two Peace Corps guys and I traveled around the island with them for a month. We'd walk into villages and sit with the kids and play the gamelan, and then we get invited to stay the night. It was incredible. And when I checked in with the Canadian Embassy and I wrote what I was doing, and I wrote an aerogram, which came 3 months later to my parents. My parents' experience was that I disappeared in Indonesia for a month. And they went totally insane. I learned later my father lost 20 pounds.
Oh.
And so the kids are out of control, and our elders, our parents, are totally out of control. And you know, your dad may make some really bad decisions. Mm-hmm. He really may not be in this. You could likely plan better for his old age, his old age than he can, but it's not your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing is I'm trying to separate my desire from his needs and how I can be helpful to what he needs or wants.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a neat experiment. I've done this many times with people when we're in person, to take something like this tape measure here, and then take it and squeeze and really hold and this is I'm gonna make the right decisions for my dad. I'm gonna make and keep and hold it for a long time. Hold it till you can't anymore. And I encourage the person, just keep holding, squeeze harder, and then finally when you get to the point where all right, I give up, and then there's this. And then you can't even let go because your fingers are all they're all tight, and then you have to they're jerky and jumpy when you take them out because we're so used to holding on. But it's hard being a human. Where is your dad?
He's in Brentwood Bay, which is near Victoria, which is 3 hours away from where I am at Fanny Bay. So it's not that easy to just sort of, wander over and see how he's doing.
Yeah. I always forget how big the island is.
Yeah. Well, last week he was ready to sell his house in Brentwood Bay and move to his house, which is 15 kilometers from me. It's like, yay, okay, this is going to be much easier. And then he talked to my brother and changed his mind.
You have to kill the brother now.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so complicated.
it is.
So tricky not to get all whipped up about it.
Very difficult, but also a very wonderful hot practice.
Well, this is it. I've been thinking, oh, grist for the mill. It's good for the spiritual practice.
Yeah, it
And
really is.
How much of how to apply this spiritual practice is the tricky thing. To be in service, to develop merit, those loving kindness, compassion, all those things, without being a bossy boots and a bully.
Right. Well, and in the story/dream of your lifetime, there will probably be many years after he's gone, in which that will then become a memory. Oh yeah, remember that? Remember those struggles I had with my dad? And then, in my experience, poof, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a whole new story.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well that's very helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Thanks.
I just remembered the Khalil Gibran's, your children are not your children. They are the fruits of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but they are not of you. Same is true with our parents. Your parents are not your parents. They're people who in this lifetime played the role of parent, and they're quite separate. And there's no
Can I just ask
predicting.
you one more question based on that?
Sure.
So I was thinking, I wonder if it would be, in my mind, helpful to quit thinking of him as my father and all those years, those 57 years of baggage, and think of him more as Robert Beatty. I'm providing service to Robert Beatty, because I don't have any conflict with you or somebody like you. I wonder if that would
Absolutely.
switch the brain a little bit and detach a little bit.
Whenever I do forgiveness meditation, guided forgiveness meditation, I always introduce the notion that this person who in this lifetime played the role of my father or my mother or my lover or whatever, they're just people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my capital F, he's my father and he was so terrific or so awful or whatever. There was this person who in this lifetime did the best he could, flawed, and maybe he was awful and maybe there was trauma, and maybe there was abuse and all, but it's not my father, it's this human being who played the role of father. Mm-hmm. And it allows it to become a little bit step removed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been joking. It would be so much easier if we all traded parents.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'll think about that too. Thank you.
All the world is a stage and all the men and women are merely players. We have our exits and our entrances. I talked with Emily, our friend David's wife, widow. David Morrison died 3 months ago, I think. I lose track of time, but she yesterday took receipt of 1,000 pounds of dirt, which is where David lives now. He went into a composting process at Riverview Cemetery, and he's become dirt. And we're going to bring some of it to PIMC to plant something in, and then she's going to put some in her yard, I think. But we're not here we're not here as this for all that long. So maybe it really is true that we're playing a role, or many roles.
Hey, Robert.
Timothy.
I just have a little technical question. We were looking at registering for the Brighton Bush fundraiser, and it said that it looks like about half of the money is considered a charitable contribution, and is the other half going to expenses? Do you know, or how that's working?
Oh, all the money's going to Brighton Bush. However, you will be receiving workshops which are
Considered worth something. Got it.
And I would say, from my non-tax accountant point of view, I would say it would be up to you whether you decide to take the whole amount as a write-off or whether you take the whatever's recommended there.
Okay, thanks.
And particularly if you make a donation, the donation would then be 100% write-offable. That came from one of the other members in the planning committee. When you make contributions to PIMC, our paperwork says you may be entitled to a tax deduction, but since everything at PIMC is a donation, it's all a gift. The entirety, I encourage people, and it's legal, the entirety of anything you give to PIMC, even like my class, you can take my class for free. There's always a thing at PIMC that you can write a scholarship amount for yourself. So that would be a choice for you what to do. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like a wonderful lineup.
It does, doesn't it? I hadn't met a couple of them before, but they're very interesting people.
Yeah, and hearing from Peter will be wonderful.
Yeah, he's a trip.
He's been there forever. Yeah.
One of the things that we'll be showing is there's a slideshow that Peter was invited. He took two other community members to China a couple of years ago. That China is studying Brighton Bush and a few other places like it in order to create places of a similar ilk in China.
Cool.
Yeah,
Oregon is influencing the world. The Cahoots program here in Eugene, run by Whitebird Medical, where we have a van with a crisis worker and an EMT that goes out to deal with stuff that police don't have to be involved with. That model's getting exported all over the country. So Oregon's influencing in good ways. Yes.
Keep Oregon loony.
Yeah. And certainly your teachings, as we know, are influencing
changing the world.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you.
One neurotic moment at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me that my book, Mindfulness for a Happy Life, is available on Audible. So you can listen to it if you want.
Robert, Margie Schindler here.
Hello, Margie.
Hi. I wanted to say that Sarah Joy Marsh, who is part of the lineup at Brighton Bush, was my second ever yoga teacher in Seaside, Oregon in 1995.
Wow.
However long ago that was. So she was just sort of starting her practice, and she's become quite notable in the field, and she's an amazing person and teacher.
She is. I have been very impressed with. She's quite a planner too, in making things happen. I'm very impressed with her also.
He started out at Brighton Bush partly as their cook, and she made all these amazing organic like pies with low sugar, and she's an incredible cook too. So interesting part of her history.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, for anybody who loves yoga, definitely that is a wonderful part of that weekend. So.
Now Buddha wants back in. Anybody else have something you'd like to share? That being the case, I'd like to share a song with you. It's been in my mind all morning. It's by The Once. It's a Canadian group. Is it going to work? Why is it not working? Oh, I know. I turned down the volume over here.
That we've been traveling on the same path.
Can you hear it?
Do you believe in fate? That we've been traveling on the same path. It's taken miles to make it here, and in the end it seems so clear. We are all running. We are all running.
A song from The Once. They got others beautiful ones too, of course. Well, it's not much in our news, but Canada is getting creamed by COVID right now. Ontario's closed its border. I think BC is closing its borders too to people coming in with RVs and things like that. It's not over yet. Not over yet. Well, shall we sing our way out of here? Everyone put on your best voices. Please unmute as you wish. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Jamming in the name of the Lord.
Please, please have a lovely, mindful day, and let's be kind to ourselves and others.
Thanks, Robert.
Bye.
Thank
bye.
you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Love you, love you, love you.
Hi, Francine.
I saw you rocking out there, Francine. You were getting into that.
That was beautiful. The Once, it was called?
The Once. It's we are all running by The Once.
Oh, we'll have to.
They've got really nice, great lyrics in many of their songs.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Well.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. Be safe.
Thank you for sharing that song, sweet Robert.
Thank you for
Tamara.
hearing. How is the sound on that? Is the music okay?
Beautiful.
Is it?
Yeah, nice.
Beautiful.
That's good, because it's what I'm doing. I'm using my big my Bose sound machine in the room, and then it's coming through the microphone because the way of doing it inside the computer keeps crashing the system. So this shouldn't be as clear, but it's clear enough.
It was about much more than the sound too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Take care.
Right words. You do. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Goodbye, Darcy. Goodbye, Vic. And Beth. And Had. Adios. Goodbye, nameless friends out on Facebook and YouTube. I sure hope this worked today.